When I interviewed Brick Baby, we got into the whole story of Eric Holder. Now, Eric Holder and Brick Baby kind of have the same street name. They're both Shitty Cuz.
I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, they're both called Shitty Cuz. In fact, I even brought up a piece of my interview with 21 Savage where he goes, "Oh yeah, I'll fuck with Crips, when I'm in LA, I'll fuck with Shitty Cuz." And I'm like, "Is he talking about you?" And Brick was like, "Yeah, I know 21 Savage. That's who he's talking about. He's not talking about Eric Holder." But yeah, I mean, basically, Eric Holder's a little bit younger than him, and when he became a Crip, they gave him the name. Shitty, the term, the reason why they use Shitty Cuz, it means like, yeah, man, this is we stay real shitty out here. We're real grimy. Like I'm shitty. I'm in the soil, like that type of thing. So
I'm glad you explained that because I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was always.
I wouldn't want that shit to be my name.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be called shitty either, but it is what it is. So yeah, Eric Holder, in fact, there was a situation where they got into it with some gang members, and Eric Holder, he didn't want to go into all the details, but it sounded like Eric Holder pulled out a gun and basically shot at those guys and saved his life. You know what I'm saying? So they were cool. He doesn't agree with what happened because Nipsey was his friend as well. But there was an interesting chain of events. Like, for example, Eric Holder got beat up real bad by this other guy in the neighborhood. And the guy, I guess, slammed his head into the asphalt a bunch of times, and he had brain damage. He had brain surgery. So he said that he was a little bit different after that. And essentially, the rumor about Eric Holder snitching wasn't true. It was this other guy that they know was trying to spread that rumor, but that's not what happened. Eric Holder was a real, serious guy. He really was a gangster, and those rumors were fucking with him. So the day that, the situation with Nipsey occurred, Eric had already gotten into it with someone. I guess he had pulled out a gun on him and so forth. So he was already in a fucked up mood. Now, Nipsey was also in a mood because I guess a week before, DJ Khaled had pulled up to Nipsey's neighborhood to do a music video. And I guess Nipsey hadn't arrived yet, and a bunch of guys that basically pressed Khaled. So Nipsey was upset with some of his team for not having better security. Here's a celebrity showing up to their neighborhood to do this big video, and they're getting pressed by a bunch of guys. So he was already kind of edgy in his own way. So when those two met up, Nipsey was like, "Oh, I heard about the snitching rumors. You should get that taken care of." And I think, from Brick Baby's perspective, Eric just had enough. It was just like, man, this guy too is going to accuse me of this shit. Like, I'm so fucking sick of this. Like, it's not true. Everywhere I go, they're talking about this. Now Nipsey's fucking accusing me of this, and he just snapped.
No.
What's your take on this?
I don't fucking know, bro. I mean, they were trying to say that he wore a red shirt to try to confuse people into thinking that Bloods was behind it, to try to show some form of premeditation. I don't know who the fuck does what he did, because he didn't just shoot him. He shot him and then stomped on him.
Yeah.
It seemed like he snapped, And Brick, me and him have spoke a few times. He cool people. He's close to the source, so I just agree with whatever he talking about,
Yeah, and I've talked about this in some of the interviews. Had this happened in prison, you accuse someone of snitching in prison, immediate violence is considered completely normal.
Yeah, well, in prison it'll go a little different, because if I got your paperwork, we don't even need to accuse you. We'll just read it and then pop you. We're not going to tell you first. So it's like, it would have just went differently, But, because, if you got the fucking paperwork, why do you need an explanation? Now, if it's just rumor, then it comes down to, if you're going to be the one that says it, you'll be expected to do something. But also, before it even gets to that point, it falls on you to go get the paperwork. So whoever's talking about it, all right, where's the paperwork? And then if you don't have any fucking paperwork, you're just running your mouth, then you get popped. So it's just one of them. Because California is strict, bro, with them politics. I don't think it would have been as loose.
Okay, so for example, when you were doing your prison time, if some person that you know approached you publicly with a bunch of people around and said, hey man, I heard you were snitching, what would you do at that moment?
I'm popping him. Like, I mean, it just depends on how the situation goes, bro, because if your people are pulling you aside, like, yo, we heard this is like trial. This is where you plead your case. Who the fuck said that? Oh, him? I extorted him at the last prison. That's why he said that. Okay, so then we go grab him. And now when I'm in front of him, it's a different story. You know what I mean? So it depends. But now if a random person that's not associated with who you are walks up and says some shit like that, it's the same as somebody walking up like, oh, I heard you a bitch. Okay, now you gotta do what you gotta do. They're just trying you, you know what I mean? So it's different, but I'll be honest, in Florida, like, you really didn't hear about shit like that. Like, nobody really talked about snitching like that in prisons, like, on street paperwork shit. Like, that wasn't really a factor that I remember ever hearing about. It was more so who was snitching inside the prison and dropping kites on people and getting them put under investigation.